بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. So inshallah today we've got a jam-packed session for you inshallah. And just to recap from last week, we started by describing the beginning of creation and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala separated the heavens from the earth. There was water only and his throne was above water. And then Allah ordered the earth and the heavens to come forth, and they came forth and the creation started. So today we're going to pick up from that point and describe what happened after that inshallah. So from the Quran there are lots of beautiful creations that Allah references, and we need to understand the creation is so complex. There's not one thing, there's many things. It's actually alive. The universe is alive as we speak. Things are happening. And the first thing we look at is, in our own universe, is the sun. That is the closest neighbor we have. And in fact the sun is mentioned in the Quran. And Jazakallah Khair, Brother Bash mentioned a beautiful ayah in which Allah says that the sun and the moon and the day and the night are all but signs for us. Signs that we need to ponder. For those who have hearts, we need to ponder about these signs, for there is great benefit and learning from these things. They're not just in the sky for no reason. There's a reason. And the star is a major component of our existence. In Surah Al-Naba, ayah 13, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ سَبْعًا شِدَادًا وَجَعَلْنَا سِرَاجًا وَهَّاجًا. And we constructed above you 7 heavens, strong heavens, and we made therein a burning lamp. So from the word go, Allah is telling us there is something burning. It is actually burning and emitting light. There's a difference between the sun and the moon, and we'll get to the moon later on inshallah, but the sun is actually a burning body. It's emitting light, and science has actually found that this light is the source of this light is nuclear reactions happening every second. So the sun is continuously going through nuclear explosions to generate this heat that we see. And there will come an end to this process. And we've seen this in the universe. When the sun reaches its end of its lifetime, there's an explosion, an amazing explosion which Allah talks about in the Quran as well. We'll get to that shortly. And when this explosion happens, the star moves from one phase to another. So there is a continuation. As with ourselves, when we die we go into a phase 2. Same with Allah's creations. They end but they go to another phase. So what is the sun? What is the purpose of the sun? And Allah says in the Quran in Surah Yunus that, and it is He who made the sun a shining light and the moon a derived light and determined for it phases, that you may know the number of years and account for time. So immediately the sun is not only giving us heat and sustaining life, but there is a reason that we need it. We imagine a world where the sun is fixed. How do we tell time? How can we tell time that 1 hour has passed if nothing is moving? So we will be lost. I mean, if you consider the fact that the sun is moving, it is a way for us to measure an hour by hour, and clearly Allah is telling us that you need to know time, and that's why I've created the sun. Not only the sun, but the moon also. So these ayat are always referencing the sun and the moon together. And it was always believed that the sun is the center of the universe. It's partly because we see there are stars and the planets, and the science ancient civilizations thought the sun is the center of the universe, when in fact it's not the center of the universe. The sun is actually a whole solar system, part of a solar system, moving in space at an amazing speed. In fact, 720,000 kilometers an hour. This is a mind-boggling speed. So the whole solar system is moving. But not only is it moving, in Surah Yasin, what does Allah say? وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍ لَهَا. SubhanAllah. And the sun runs to a resting place. So it's moving, but it's going to get to a point where it stops. This is phenomenal. So the sun, the solar system is moving, but Allah is telling us it is coming to a point where it will stop. And this is the question: when will it stop? How will it stop? What will happen if it stops? And we have a hadith from our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, in which he asked Abu Dharr, and the Prophet asked him, do you know what happens when the sun sets? And what was his response? Allah wa Rasuluhu a'lam. Only Allah and His Prophet knows best. And he said the sun, when the sun reaches the throne of Allah, the Arsh, it asks for Allah permission to continue to rise on the next world. And Allah gives it permission. But there will come a time where Allah will not give it permission, and it will tell the sun, go back. So it will stop and go back. And what happens at this point in time? This is when the signs of the Akhirah, when the sun actually rises from the west. At that point in time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give it any permission to continue. But this is amazing because science has actually been wondering about what happens to the sun and what happens if can the sun rise from the west. And there's actually theories that there's gravitational forces on the earth and the sun, and there's things that are slowing down and things that are moving faster, and they're predicting there will come a time when the sun actually rises from the west. So it's an amazing concept. But not only that, in Surah Yusuf, also Yusuf alayhi salam, in his dream, what did he see? He saw 11 planets and the sun and the moon prostrating to him. Now this is interesting, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala show Yusuf alayhi salam the sun and the moon and 11 planets? This has an amazing knowledge behind it, because at the time, the ancient Egyptians, they were fascinated. They were the masters of the stars. They could calculate. They built pyramids, and they built things based on their understanding of how the universe is there. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him one of the most important things in the ru'ya to ponder it out. So it's not only, of course, it turns out that the tafsir of the ru'ya is totally different, but the fact is that Allah showed him that there are 11 planets, and the sun and the moon prostrating is very symbolic, very symbolic. Now, when we look at other ayat in the Quran about this movement of these celestial bodies in space, what does Allah say in the Quran about this? In Surah Al-Anbiya, He says, وَهُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ وَالشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. SubhanAllah, look at the word يَسْبَحُونَ. And it is He who created the night and the day, and the sun and the moon. They are all swimming in space. Swimming in space. There are actually some theories, some scientists say space is full of water. I mean, that's a theory, but what turns out to be the case is that all these stars and all these planets are connected together. So they're not separated, but they're in a mesh, they're in a network. So they all relate to each other. Like the ummah of the Muslimin relate to each other. These are the creations of Allah. They also relate to each other in a gravitational effect that is pulling and pushing. So each planet pulls and pushes against each other, causing a wave effect. So planets and stars are unable to move through space except for this wave action. So these waves action is what Allah is using to make the universe grow. And there's an ayat in the Quran talking about the growing universe. It is phenomenal that the detail of these ayat they go through in the Quran. And then there are things called superhighways in the universe. This is an amazing concept which science actually needs. In Surah Al-Dhariyat, Allah says, وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْحُبُكِ. What is the meaning of that? It's a network. Hubuk is a network of pathways, of orbits. And if it wasn't for these networks, we wouldn't be able to actually launch any satellites in space. Because what happens when a satellite is launched, it does not have any energy, any fuel to continue. So it needs to bounce off other planets. So other planets attract it and it swings past it. So slingshot to the next destination, which is another planet, slingshot. So these satellites are slingshotting through the universe to get to where they want. Otherwise they wouldn't be able to move because there is no atmosphere, there is no air to burn any fuel. They rely purely on the slingshot effect of this. And why is Allah created? To help us navigate the universe. Otherwise we would not know anything better. Now next, on the slingshotting effect and travelling in space, what does Allah say more about this? In Surah Al-Ma'arij, Allah says, Min Allahi dhil Ma'arij. Now this is amazing. So from Allah, the Lord of the ways of ascension. Allah is describing Himself, I am the Lord of the ways to actually travel in space. And then He says, to Him ascends the angels and the spirits on a day whose duration is 50,000 years. This is amazing. So this Ma'arij is a mechanism to travel and ascend in space. And the example of this is really amazing. So when you go to the airport, there are escalators, right? Escalators that you can jump on and walk, and it takes you faster than someone walking normally. This concept is what Allah is using, except many times, millions more faster. Allah is using these portals in space which transport the angels at a faster rate. And how did our Prophet Muhammad in the journey of Isra wal Mi'raj, why was it called Mi'raj? Mi'raj, it's actually a portal that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent our Prophet through with Angel Jibreel alayhi salam to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's an amazing concept that science has actually been baffled. They want to try and find it. They want to find where this Ma'arij is on earth. And I read a lot of theories. One of them was really amazing. Some scientists, and they're Western scientists, believe there is one in Al-Aqsa, because that's where the Prophet ﷺ went to the heavens, and they say there must be something there. So scientists are not only looking for the Temple Mount, Haykal Sulaiman, but they're actually looking for something more. They are looking for the Ma'araj that allowed people to travel, the Malaika to travel in space. So indirectly they believe in the Risala of the Prophet ﷺ. They actually believe that. So they're looking for something, because if they can find it, then they will be able to travel in space much more greater distances in much shorter time. So we're not talking about traveling in time, we're talking traveling distances in much shorter time. This is a phenomenal theory. Next, one of the most amazing stars in the universe is something we can't see. It's called the black hole. Now this is an amazing concept with a creation which Allah describes in the Quran. He says, فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالْخُنَّسِ الْجَوَارِ الْكُنَّسِ, I swear by the conspicuous stars, the roaming sweepers. SubhanAllah, look at the description. It's conspicuous, we can't see it, and it's roaming, and it sweeps. So it's a vacuum cleaner. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed vacuum cleaners to clean the universe from all the debris, from all the meteors, from all the things that could be harmful to our existence. And these black holes attract even light cannot escape them. And from millions of light years away, not from close by they're totally obliterated. But from very far, this black hole can clean the universe. But not only, there's so many of them, they're everywhere. And they provide a lot of knowledge as to the creation of the universe, because a black hole in space is like a magnifying glass. So whenever Allah puts a black hole, it bends light in a way to show what's above, what's behind it even. So science is benefiting from these creations in amazing ways, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us to look and ponder how did this creation come about? It's totally amazing. In this galaxy, in the Milky Way galaxy, there's a black hole in the center of it, and it's about 26,000 light years away. So we're not talking short distances. This is thousands and thousands of light years away. The largest known star, visible star, is called Stephenson 218. Just to give you an idea how big this is. If you would have an A380 jumbo jet flying around this planet at full speed, so close to 1,000 kilometers an hour, it would take that jumbo jet 1,080 years to go all around. 1,080 years to travel around. So this is an amazing star, a bright star, and it's coming to an end. So science can actually see this star has been bubbling and growing, and eventually it will explode and become a black hole. But what is really amazing is another star. So there's all stars. Today is the day of stars. Is a star called in Surah At-Tariq. It's called وَالسَّمَاءِ وَالطَّارِقِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الطَّارِقِ النَّجْمُ الثَّاقِبِ, by the star and the knocker. And what will you make of the knocker? It is the piercing star. Now this means this tariq is like a knocking. It's a thing that knocks and makes sounds. And I just want to give you an example of what this sounds like. This is actually the tariq beating, but it's been reduced down to that we can hear it, because that's what scientists have been monitoring stars. And this star is revolving so fast, it's actually revolving 43,000 times a minute. Think about this, 43,000 times a minute. In 1 second, it revolves 716 times a second. This is a star which is actually bigger than our own sun. And to think that this star is actually rotating so fast, and it's got magnetic fields on the north and south pole, which is what is making that sound. It's sort of beating, and it's like a whip. Every time it comes around, it whips and makes a sound, and it's piercing sound. So the actual sound cannot be heard by the human ear. It's like dogs can hear sounds with a whistle that we can't hear. So we can't also hear the sounds of this star, but science has been able to measure it and give us an indication as to how this piercing sound really is. And another star, which is again another amazing creation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's mentioned in Surah An-Najm, وَأَنَّهُ هُوَ رَبُّ الشِّعْرَى. Now this is an amazing thing, and it is he who is the Lord of Sirius. Sirius is a very, very well-known, famous star. The ancient Egyptians were the first to discover this star. And it rises just above the horizon, and it happens once a year. And when it does happen, the Nile floods, a lot of water comes, and they thought this is their god, and they worshipped Sirius, and because it was the end of the summer season. Summer ended, the water came, the Nile flooded, and all the khairat came, and they thought that this is their Lord coming back to them every once a year. But what was interesting is that the Jahiliyyah, the Arab Jahiliyyah days, they also adopted this Lord, and they also worshipped that star. An interesting story, when our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was bagged and was called names and looked down upon him, what they call him? They called him Ibn Abi Kabsha. Ibn Abi Kabsha. Why was that name? His mother Amina, her grandfather, his name was Abd Manaf, and his nickname was Abu Kabsha. Abu Kabsha meaning the man who worshipped Sirius. So to look down on the Prophet ﷺ, said he is Ibn Abi Kabsha. So it's amazing how the stories of the Prophet ﷺ, his seerah, inshallah maybe we'll cover it one day, is also connected to the stars and to the heavens. It's an amazing story that I found that I need to share with you. SubhanAllah. Now when the star reaches its end, and as I said, the black star, the star that grows and finishes off all its fuel, explodes, becomes a black hole. And when the explosion happens, Allah describes that in the Quran in Surah Ar-Rahman. فَإِذَا انشَقَّتِ السَّمَاءُ فَكَانَتْ وَرْدَةً كَالدِّهَانِ. And when the heaven is split open and becomes like a rose-colored oil painting. SubhanAllah, look at that. This is amazing. So we said before that the planets are all in one tight network, they give and take. However, when a star breaks apart, it's actually a breaking. Allah calls it splits open. The heavens splits open. These planets split open, and they become an amazing rose-colored creation in the universe. If you do a Google search on this, you'll find some amazing pictures from the Hubble telescope about when these stars explode. They're still actually in the universe right now, but we can't see them. You need telescope to see them. But it's there for the people who want to absorb this knowledge. And two more slides on this. One is the manufacturing plant of stars. Where do these stars get created? Allah talks about this in Surah Al-Furqan. تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ فِي السَّمَاءِ بُرُوجًا. Though this is, and highly revered is He who has made constellations in the heavens. He has made these constellations for a reason. These are productions of stars. And Allah uses the word buruj. The buruj coming from the word burj, meaning a tower. And scientists have actually looked at the universe, and they see amazing structures that look like high-rise towers. And these structures are actually used by Allah subhanahu to create these stars. So these are a manufacturing plant. And in another area, in Surah Al-Buruj, وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ. So Allah is also again swearing by His creations, that these are creations that Allah subhanahu is putting out there to maintain the process. So He is the maintainer. So He creates the system, and the system is alive, and everything is there for a reason. And one thing we take away from these stars is that we look at the stars and we look at how magnificent it's created, and we benefit from its creation indirectly and directly. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to ponder more about these ayat and think about how it is actually working, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us about His creation in the Quran. And I think we've reached the end. And jazakumullah khairan for listening, and barakallahu bikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. آخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.